What is up? It has been a minute since I have talked to you guys. Basically, what's been happening is I've got a Patreon, for those of you that don't know, and I've been making a lot of content, and I'm trying to put most of that on my Patreon because the people that subscribe to that are paying, a monthly subscription, and I want to make sure that they're getting something for their money. But it's really good to be back. I miss this so much. I really, really do. Love doing stuff for Patreon, love doing stuff in general, but I just often don't have the time to make all of the content that I want to make at the rate that I want to make it. Have I mentioned that I'm a single mom with 2 jobs? Yeah. So anyways, if you're new to the channel, again, my name is Jennifer Brave. I am the founder and owner of Facets Relational Care. So I'm a certified Enneagram and Myers-Briggs life coach, and I do life coaching sessions for literally like everything under the sun that you can think of. I have had people that have come to me with, name it, just think about it, anything. I've had it. So I do a lot of that. If you're interested in checking out a little bit more just about my business and about me and what I do, my skills, my expertise, I'm going to put the link to my website here below this video. And then you've also got it on the screen there. So go check that out. I've got a page all about my sessions, my areas of expertise, my client reviews. If you want, word of mouth, you can check that out. And then there's also going to be a link for scheduling, which is going to have like session fees and all of that stuff. So if you want to check me out, feel free to do that. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get into the content of today's video. So like I said, I've been doing a lot of stuff on my Patreon for my patrons. And one of the series that I have just started is talking about the energy flow or the ego flow for each of the different Enneagram types. We could also say personality flow. So here's what I mean by that. Your personality type, your Enneagram type, I don't care which type it is an ego. It's not the true self. It is a collection of behaviors that each of us builds around a wound or part of us that was hurt in childhood that we feel needs protection now as an adult. And that personality style is going to be directed into the world, okay? So we can direct that ego energy out into the world, pushing our personality out onto other people. We can direct our personality, our ego, inward to ourselves, pushing our energy, inwards onto ourselves. Or there are some types that do it both ways. So I've made a video for type 1, and I've made an MP3 that you can listen to for type 2. Those are going to be on my Patreon account, which is available for my subscribers. And I'll talk a little bit more about subscriptions at the end of this video. I've also got an introductory post there too about what it means, when we say the energy flow or the ego flow for the different Enneagram types, although that's basically the description that I just gave you here. But today, what I'm going to do is make my video for type 3, and I wanted to post it here for you guys just to give you some sort of material because I know I haven't been here for a while, and then also to give you an idea about what this series is looking like. So if you want to go check it out and subscribe on Patreon so that you can get access to the rest of this series, you can. So jumping right into it, Enneagram type 3. This type 3 personality, where are they shoving that in life? So brief little recap, Enneagram type 1 takes that perfectionist personality and they turn that inward on themselves, even though that doesn't look like it's the case. You need to go watch my video for Enneagram type 1, or I take that back. Type 1 was the MP3. You need to go listen to the MP3 about that on my Patreon page. Type 2 takes their personality and they put it out onto the world. They shove their personality out onto the world. But type 3 is really interesting because type 3 is doing both things. They're shoving their ego out onto the world, but then they're also turning it in on themselves. So how are they doing that? So think about it. The Enneagram type 3 personality is a personality about achieving and performing because they are not in touch with the self. They do not believe that they have anything of worth. So they take on all of these personas and do all of these things that are impressive to try to gain the love and the approval and the affection of other people. That's loosely, in a nutshell, that's what we could call the Enneagram type 3 personality, right? A word that's often associated with the type 3 personality is the word deception. And I know it sounds like a mean word, and I'm not trying to be mean when I say it, but when you hear people teach the Enneagram and they're teaching about type 3 and they're talking about this being a personality type of deception, what they're saying is that whole thing that I just explained, that need to perform for affection and love and approval, it's just that. It's a performance. A performance is not an authentic display of the self. It's a form of deception. Just like when you go to, I don't know, not even a movie theater anymore with the whole COVID. Like if you sit home and you stream a movie and the actors in that movie, they're not being who they are in real life. They're being the characters. They're deceiving you in a way by pretending to be something that they aren't, right? So threes are doing that. They've got this external deception because they're trying to deceive other people by performing, and they want to deceive other people into believing that they, the three, are who these other people want them to be, okay? But they're turning that inward too, because there's a self-deception, because threes are internalizing the reactions that they're getting from people outside of themselves. And they are building an identity around that, okay? So they are lying to the self, saying, this is who I am based on this feedback, based on these reactions. Another thing too, in terms of self-deception for threes, is I think threes lie to themselves, even about being performers. I think that threes have this belief that they are genuine people, that this is what I am, and this is my projection of me onto the world, not realizing that there's this self-deception that's stemming from this fear of, what if I'm not really this wonderful image that I've worked so hard to build? What if I look inside of myself and see the real me and find that, in fact, there is nothing impressive, nothing of value, nothing that would gain attention and affirmation and love, praise, etc., right? So I think it's an unintentional form of self-deception for that reason. Another thing that I think with the three ego, the three personality that's happening, that's going externally and internally, is this kind of ties into it. It's not technically the same thing, but it does tie in. It's this honest intention to build an identity, not to perform. And this is separate from the deception. This is an honest attempt to build an identity. Threes in their performance are trying to build an identity outside of themselves with other people, okay? And I think internally too, this kind of ties into that fear of really looking at who they really are outside of that self-deception, for fear of what they might see, that it's going to be less than impressive, okay? I think that threes have this sense, however big or small it may be, and whether or not they can put words to it, but I think they have this sense really underneath of everything, who they think they might be. What I like to call a sense of the inner unwounded child, like a sense of the true self. I really think that there's part of them, even if it's just a sliver, that knows that that's there. But I think they don't know how to nourish, protect, foster that part of themselves. And so, for better or for worse, whether or not they want this to be the case, they just kind of shove it off. It's kind of like, whatever. There's not room for me to really be that way. That part of me is stupid. And, they cover it up and they keep going. But what I see as being very common in threes is this really just deep-seated pain at not being able to be who they believe that they really are, or who they feel that they really are. I don't know how many 3s are aware of that, though. I don't know how many of them are in touch with that pain, because when you've been a 3 long enough, when you've been doing this self-deception and this deception of other people, right? And you've got this little false image built up in your head. I think that 3s get so used to seeing themselves as that person that, to most of them, this idea that there's something deeper than that, that there is this sense of self that's different than what they've told themselves that they are, is just preposterous, right? But again, I really do think if 3s sat down with themselves long enough, they're going to find a very, very heavy sense of sadness or despair that comes from being disconnected with the self. It can be really depressing, actually, quite terrifying, very anxiety producing, which, is why they avoid it. Makes perfect sense. I think if they search deeper than that, they find that inner child that up to this point for 3 has yet to be defined or named. So anyways, that is a little bit about the energy flow, the ego flow for Enneagram type 3. Fantastic information. If you're watching, you might say, Jennifer, why is this relevant? Like, how does this help me? Wonderful theory, great education, but how can I turn this into an application in my life? What's the benefit here? And you know what? I'm going to tell you, but I'm not going to do it until I finish my video for type 9. So if you want to hop on over to my Patreon, go ahead and subscribe. You can get access to all of this wonderful information. There's a lot of benefits to doing so. If you subscribe $1 or more a month, you get access to blog posts and videos. $2 or more a month, you get access to blog posts, videos, and the MP3s. $3 or more a month, you get access to all of that stuff. You get one free session, and I do a Q&A session at the end of every month where all of my patrons all of my patrons that subscribe $3 or more a month can send me just questions themselves that they want me to answer. And then I make a video at the end of the month where I answer that question and I post it so that everybody who subscribes $3 or more a month can have access to it to watch it. So a lot of incentive there. If you have a Twitter, that's the fastest way to be notified about anything. As soon as this video goes up on YouTube, I'm going to be posting an update on Twitter there. I'm going to put the link to my website. Again, I do sessions, which are like thebomb.com. I can help turn this theory into actual application for individuals, for relationships, again, for everything that you can think of. Like, some things I even hesitate to mention because I've had people come to me with such weird things, but you would be amazed at what the Enneagram and Myers-Briggs touches and it affects. Like, it's stupid the amount of things in your life that are affected by those two things. So it's really helpful to have. Anyways, that is all for today. It's so good to be back. Like, I'm so happy to do this. This is where I feel the most alive. Oh, God. I want to do this full time. God damn it. Anyways. So, if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button under there. That would be really great. The more subscribers I get, like, the more money I get when they put commercials in the videos that I make. And then, like, you just make more money the more subscribers that you get. There's a whole lot of things that go into that. But anyways, yeah, that is about all for today. I will be back at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. And as always, I love you guys so much. Thank you for all of your support and yeah, all that stuff. So I'm awkward. I've realized making stuff for Patreon that I'm actually really awkward with, like, the endings of videos and shit. So, yeah, I don't really know what to do. So, whatever. Yeah. In fact, I'm just going to do this.